Hi there, it's B. Welcome to my channel. On the last episode of Coffee Shop Simulator, we left it here with the customer asking for an order and staying there forever. Today we're going to continue with Interactables. So I have two examples. I have a pickup interactable and a drop interactable. So I can pick up different items and left it there. And I can leave 3 maximum because I decided so. So this is really the counter. So this will be for the future to fulfill the customer's order. If you want to follow along, you can take the project files from the previous episode, which are on my itch.io page on this. I will leave the link below. Or you can just take the final part, which will contain everything. It will contain pickups and the code and everything else. It's up to you. Let's take a look at what I have here. So I have a croissant pickup, a cup of coffee pickup. So basically this is just a static mesh. This is just to represent what this is. And also this is all, they are also static mesh. The pickup is just the croissant pickup, for example. You will see that it's nothing, it's just a trigger and the logic goes inside. So you could opt out for creating the static mesh and make it look nice. But because this is an example, well, this doesn't look really nice. To show you how this works, I can just do this. And the same for this one, is exactly the same. The only difference between this and this is the data that they have, the elements they have. So that's the only difference. They both work the same, so they use the same class. The drop counter, in this case, for some reason I decided to make this object. I guess I thought it was easier to represent, so yeah, I did that. And what I did in this case is we have 3 scene components because I decided that you can only put 3 elements and that's it. So it makes things simple, and because the whole shop simulator only allows 3 items per order, I decided to do this. If you want to extend this, you will need to play with arrays, try to make sure that you don't drop elements on the same place, and it will be a lot more complicated. In this case, this is enough for me. 3 orders, and that's it. So I can just play with this and place the elements. To make these 3 elements happen, we're gonna need to use my interactable interface and my basic interact. So let's first open that. This pickup interactive is already on the project files from the previous episode, but it doesn't contain anything. It's just an empty class. But I wanted to show you that both drop interactive and pickup interactive, they both extend from this interactable interface and this basic interactive. The basic interactive is nothing like, it's just an actor with a trigger and a reference to the player controller and a few other things, nothing interesting, nothing exciting. And then it has a begin overlap and end overlap, which they have these events here. So when the player is inside this the trigger, it will send a reference to the interactive to the player, and when the player step out, it will leave the interactive. The interface, it only has this on interact blueprint callable, and I do this because I call this from the player character, And every tile, for example, the pickup interactive, will be in charge of making whatever needs to happen. So I don't need to place all the logic on the character. I can do it on the child. So let's go to the coffee shop sim character, the player, and you will see what I mean. So I have these three methods. On enter interact is when the player is on the trigger, on the interactable, and it receives a reference to the elements. I use interfaces, so I don't need to specify the type of factor. I can use any type of factor, so it's very, very handy. If I use, I can use actors, or I could use other type of objects. With interfaces, I don't need to do that. And I like interfaces, so it's also a choice for me. So basically on Enter Interactive, what I do is I keep a reference to the actor, and then I keep a reference to the interface itself. On Leave Interactive, I just set everything to null. And on Interact, which happens when you press the button on the controller, it will execute that on interactive end, and the child, in this case the pickup, will execute whatever, and I have everything I need there. So I use this type of architecture all the time. It's very handy for me. You could decide to do something else. The idea is to have the same result. Let's move on now to create the pickup interactive. So in this project, you already have the pickup in interactive. If not, you can just create a new class. Make sure it extends from basic interactive, which you already have on the project files as well. Click next, and then you can set a name. And because I already have that, yeah, I can't create anyone. But we can create the drop interactive. So we have both. You can create both at the same time. This is gonna take a while, so let's leave it there. And let's come back when this finished. When this finished, you should see this. It extends from basic interactive for both. Okay, on the pickup interactive, don't forget to also include the interactable to make this works, and important to add the include. Okay, so the pickup interactive, as you can see, it has these two methods already included. This comes from the interactable, and you need the blueprint and the implementation. This is because we will do a few bits on the C++, and this will be used on the blueprint to add finished touches, for example, to spawn elements, to add sounds, particles, whatever you need. So basic functionality in C++, heavy operations on C++, then the rest on blueprints. That's how it usually works, and it's because if you work with artists, designers, this makes it easier for them. There is nothing on the implementation because we are going to work on that. So the first thing we need is an item. So this item is not being declared, but this is basically an item that is going to have a blueprint actor, which will be the item that we pick up on the hands, an item ID, and pretty much that's it. So we're gonna declare that in the definition.h. That's how I like to do it, and I use this to declare structures mainly. It's a handy place, so I have everything in the same place. So let's place that like here, and as you can see, it has an item ID, a name that you can use later on to show some kind of information on a UI if you want. You can also place text, so you can have some kind of description. And this is the item class, which is going to be spawned on the hands and also will be used on the drop. Okay, that has been declared. We need to include the definition. And with this we have everything, and now we can go to pick up interactive and implement that. Okay, the implementation is this player character is a reference that we have from the basic interactive, and this one when we enter the trigger, so it's there. And we're going to do some operations that we are going to need to add on the player as well. But basically, okay, we check if it's null, and then if the player has something on the hands. This is a boolean that we are going to add in a few moments. Then, this is not necessary really. We can actually remove this because we return if it's null. So let's just remove that. Makes the code a bit cleaner. Okay. So this is going to be execute if this is not null. There is no items on the hands already. Okay, and actually have aquí another return just in case, which I don't think is needed, but yeah, well, okay. So if we can pick up the item, we call this function, which is on receive item, and this will be the function that picks the item and put it on the hands. So visually it's just going to be, the pickup is gonna stay the same, but it's like I make a pickup that you can pick up as many as you want, so there is no limit. And then I call this change animation. I believe I have this for the animation controller, so I can control the animations. If you want to dig into this, you can just take a look at the blueprint animation. Very important, we need the include for the player character. And as you can see, I don't have any of this because we're going to implement this just now. Let's move on now to the player character, which is the coffee shop sim character, and to implement these elements. On the project files for the chapter, you will also have this already implemented with everything else, and something cool, which is the hands moving up like I have on the final example. And I'm gonna explain that here, but you can take a look, or you can join to my Discord server and ask me questions if you have any doubts, but just check the project files, it should be fine. Okay, so let's go to the coffee sim character, and let's add a new section and let's start this thing. So we are going to need all of this. Okay, so we have the boolean, which checks if we already have anything on the hands, and on receive item, which is an blueprint callable with an implementation, because we're going to spawn an item on the player hands. We will do a few other bits on the receive item implementation C++ part. We're also going to keep an item on hands of type F item. Remember, you need to add the definitions.h, which I don't have. Okay, maybe you don't need it. And I also have another one, which is on give item, which is going to be similar. It's going to be the reverse of this on receive item. Let's implement those elements. On receive item implementation, receive the F item, and it double checks that there is nothing on the hands, and then if it sets this to true, so we can block any pickup. We cannot pick up anything if we already have something on the hands. Then if it's on the hands, we keep the reference, and yeah, this is to make the hands moving. Yeah, don't worry about this. And now on give item, it's gonna be the reverse. If we have something on the hands, we set this to false, and we move the hands down. Let's compile this and let's continue on Unreal and make this happen on Blueprint and see how that works. Okay, after compiling all of that, nothing has changed, but we're going to create the first blueprint pickup. So let's go to the class, then we can create a blueprint based on that. Let's do the croissant pickup interactive, and we can place this on the blueprints. Then really we don't need anything. If you want to add a static mesh, actually yeah, let's add static mesh, so we can have some kind of representation, and we can use the croissant, which is on the project files. Okay, yeah, that's nice. And then we can go to the map and place this whenever we feel like. So let's do this quickly. Okay, I'm gonna add this, and then this is why I didn't want to add the static mesh there, because this is not the proper way to do it, because now we need to adjust this a bit so it makes sense. Yeah, it looks a bit strange. Okay, it looks strange. So ideally you will have the counter maybe or something like that, and this looks nice, but I don't want to spend too much time on that, so I'm just gonna do it quickly. Okay, let's see. Okay, that looks a bit better. This is no way to do this. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, I guess that's enough. Now we need to set the item that we have on the property, which should be somewhere. Yeah, can't find it. Okay. Item on the interactive. So we need to fill this up. So for that, let's say the ID is going to be croissant, and the name the same. I don't need anything. And for this, we need to create a new blueprint class, and it's just gonna be a normal one. So I'm just gonna create a new one. Which is type of factor, and let's call it croissant item. And then we can use this one, but in this case I do want to add a static mesh. And then I actually think there is a nicer version, which is perfect. Okay, and I believe if we test this now, nothing is gonna happen, because we need to do the pickup on the player. When I'm working on this type of things, one thing I do is I add logs to see what's going on, but you can also add breakpoints on Visual Studio. So to show you that this is working, you will see that I place this breakpoint, and I can just check what's going on, and as you can see, it will do these two actions, which is working. We just need a way to represent that on the player, which is what we are going to do right now. So let's head to the blueprint main player, which extends from coffee shop sim character. And now we're going to finish the receive item, this event that we just created, and we can spawn the item and all of that, which is, if you do break item, you will see that you have the class, you have an ID and a name. To make things easier for me, I'm going to add a scene component, which is the place where we are going to spawn the items. So let's call it item spawner, and we're gonna place it around here, which is what I have on the final project. And now we can spawn the item there. So for that, When you use events with implementation, it's important to add a call to the parent because otherwise it's not going to do the C++ part, or it should be. So we just need to do that. So next thing is we're going to spawn the actor. You can check if it's valid, which can make things just in case, because maybe you forgot to add the reference. And then we need a branch. And if this is true, we can spawn the item. Now spawn actor from class. We can set this to true, and here's the class. Now we need to set spawn transformation location and rotation. So let's split this, and we're going to use this to tell them where. So get world location, this one, and this is going to be the location. And we can use also the rotation, but maybe you have the rotation of the item ready. The VP crescent item ready, you don't need to do this. But well, get world rotation. It's up to you how to do this. Okay, a few other things we're going to do. We are going to keep a reference to this actor, because we're going to use it on the drop pickup, on the drop interactable. So let's do promote to variable, and we can say item on hands actor. And finally, let's attach to a component so it won't be like floating in the sky. That's attach actor to component. I believe it's this one. Yeah, okay. Put this one, and this is also used for sockets. So if your character has a socket on the hands, for example, you will do that. And actually this is not ready in this project, but I'm gonna do it right now because it's very, very useful. So we can go to the mesh, to the static mesh, which is this one. We can go to the skeleton, and we can create a socket when we want, and I want to do it on the hands. So we can create a socket, add a socket, and the name is fine. So this is important, you need to pick up the same name. And I'm gonna change the relative scale just in case, yeah, because it's huge. So you can move this around a bit if you want to have a better socket. So let's move on here and add, we need exactly the same name. That's very, very important. Okay, that's it. Let's double check. Okay, I think this, okay, keep wall maybe. Also keep wall, so yeah, I think with this it will take this instead of whatever to the keep local to the socket. And as a parent we can place this. Okay, let's test this out, hopefully it will work. Yeah, we can remove that. Yeah, it works. Okay, that's weird things. I think it has collisions, so make sure to remove collisions on the item. So I'm gonna do that quickly. I fixed that collision. As you can see, nothing weird happens. I also added the hands going up, and I also added a new pickup, which is this cup of coffee. Okay, it does the same. So what I did with this is exactly the same. I just duplicated this one, and change the properties, and pick up, and also I created a duplicate from this one, and added this. To fix the problem with the collisions I just had, that the character was doing weird things, make sure to remove the collisions. So, because I don't need any type of collision there, so you can go to collision and set this to no collision, and I usually turn this off because I don't need it, and yeah, I guess it saves time. Another thing you can do is, if you don't need the tick, this is highly recommended, and if you can do that, amazing. In this case, this is just a static mesh, I don't need the tick, and that will save time and performance. It's good for performance. Okay, so now I can pick up both. This one is a bit tricky. I think the trigger is not very well, and we can't do anything because we need the drop item. Before we do that, let me show you the basic character, the thing with the hands. Still remember? If we go to the code on the pickup, I have on receive item, I have this. This is the animator to set the alpha right arm and left arm, this one, apologize, to true. That will move the hands up with a little bit of key. All of this is in this project, so you can take a look. But basically I use this float, which will be 1 or 0. I use that function to set this to 1 or 0, and then I have these two one key selecting this one, and I do the same with this on the right one. So whenever this value changes to 1, 0 or whatever, you can do a smooth transition, it will activate that. So if I set this to 1, you will see the effect. That's what it does. So if you do it like smoothly on a tick, it will do that smoothly. In this example, I just did it 1 and 0 because it was easier. But this is how it works, and you can do all sort of cool stuff with this. You can add head rotation, so you can look at elements, and yeah, you can move the whole body. It's really cool. It's nice to take a look. And to be able to connect the player with this animator, I use this character anim instance, which has all those like variables that you see there, and this. Let's move on now to the drop item interactive. So first, let's create quickly the trigger. EP drop interactive. It's also a trigger, nothing else. I will put a static mesh and all of that to make it easier for me, but for now, let's do this. Because the code is not ready, nothing is gonna happen, but we can just do a bit of, yeah, okay. Now let's go to the code with this ready, because yeah, we can go to the code and we can start working on this. So as I said, we need this to be an interactable. Okay, let's make it interactable. We're gonna need the definitions as well, and the interactable, because we're gonna use something similar. Because this is an interactable and is an interface, we need to implement the interact event. Now we are going to add a few more elements. This is complaining because we need to finish this implementation. Let's do that before anything else. So let's take this and let's go right here so it doesn't complain. And we need this as well. Okay. Right, this should work later when we compile. Okay, so for this, this drop is going to have 3 elements, only 3 elements that you can drop, and it's going to be a list, and so we're gonna need a few things. Let's add some protected properties. Okay. This is going to be the max items. It's going to be 3. This is going to be the amount of the items that the physical items that the drop interactive is going to have. And this is an event that we're going to call from here, so we can do some more magic on the blueprint based on this one. Let's go to the implementation, and it's going to be very, very similar as the other one. So yeah, right here, and we also need the include for this. So basically we do this the same. We check if the player character exists, which comes from the basic interactive. Then player hands, if we don't have anything on the hands, you can drop anything, so okay. Then this, if in the list we have more or equal to max items, which is going to be something we can set on the editor, in this case it's gonna be 3. We can do anything because we have the capacity already. Then if we can continue, what we do is we call onGIF item. So on the player we can remove the spawn element with it. We call change animation to put it to idle, and we add the item that is on the hands of the player to the list, and we call the event. So the blueprint based on this one will receive this with the item ID. Okay, this has compiled, and to make things easier, I decided to change this drop interactable and add the counter, a static mesh counter, the red theme, the cupboard, and 3 scene components that we are going to use to spawn its item on its place. So as you can see, I also remove it from the scene and add it here. So with this we can, this make things easier in this case. So let's go here and continue with the event. We can use the event on drop that we implemented on the C++, and again we have the item that we are going to drop, which is the item that the player is going to give us. So now we need to spawn this item in the right location. So for that, because we know we're only going to have 3, we are going to use the items on interactive, which is the one where we had, so every time the player gives us something, it will be there, so we know how many we have. So let's make a length to see how many we have, so we can pick the correct item, and has to be -1. So this will give us 0, 1 or 0, 1 or 2, and we can use a switch statement to know where we can switch the way we can spawn this. Okay, right. Let's move this right here. Okay, we need 1, 0, 1, 1. So we use -1 because we use the length to get the item. So for example, if we have 1 elements here, we want the index 0. And we say, okay, we're going to drop the item on this scene component, which is right here. So I place them on random places. Actually, I'm gonna move this like more in the center, so I left some space between them so they don't spawn within each other. And think about the items you're gonna make, the actors that you're gonna use to spawn. They should be on the right sizes and rotation and all of that, so you should make sure that everything is correct, or have some kind of system to make sure that nothing stuck on top of each other or weird things. So with this scene component, we can get the actor location. Okay. And we can say spawn actor. So we can use this class, use it there, and on the index 0 we will do that. And we can do something similar as we did earlier, which is, okay, we can make a transform with the position and the scale, and that we will leave it as it is, so we can use that there. And we're gonna do the same with the other two, so I'm just gonna copy all of this 2 more times. Okay, and then we can change this. Okay. So we need the 1 here. So this will be to spawn on the item 1 and item drop here. And we can remove this thing. Okay, let me take a quick look. Okay, I'm having here. Okay, I need to plug this class, otherwise, yeah, okay. So make sure you do that. Okay, yeah, that should work. Another way to do this, instead of 0, 1 and select those ones, one thing you could do is you have more, 4, 5 or whatever, you can add them to a list on the begin play, for example. So you could do begin play and then have that there, and then make a list of actors and add them, all of them, and then use F4 to know where to spawn each of one. But as I said, because we know we're gonna have 3, we can do this in this simple way. This is just to make things simple. If you have 5, maybe you can still do this, because it's not a big deal to have 5 and duplicate this that much. If you have 10, maybe in that case I will think about using list or something like that. Okay, let's test this out. It should work. So nothing is gonna happen because I don't have anything. Let's pick this. Yeah, it's spawned there. Of course the player keeps the item because we haven't said anything. Okay, and now if we try to leave anything else, it's not gonna let us. Let me try one more time. So I'm gonna leave there, and the player doesn't have anything else, so it's not gonna spawn anymore because visually we still have the item but not logically. So we need to add that logic to the player as well. And this is going to be very, very simple. So again, for that we use the event on receive item. No, not that one, sorry. It's on give item. Okay. We need to call the parent. Yep, there. And now, because we have an item on the hands, this is a reference, we can set this valid. If it's valid, branch. Okay, we can destroy this object. And remember, we call this from the drop here, so we call on item drop here on give item. So this logic is right here, so it's gonna do this part, this C++ part, and then it's going to do this part. Now let's test this again, and if everything is, yeah, we don't have anything on the hands. So we can place 3 items, and with that when we implement the customer order and we let the customer that the items are there, the customer will take everything, but that's gonna be for the next tutorial. And that's it for today's chapter. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like, share, subscribe. It helps a lot. I'll see you next time on the next tutorial. Bye!